Bust it.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to Political Platform. My name is Amechi Anakwe. Several meetings are being held across Nigeria as 2019 continues to load. When I say meeting, I mean political meetings. In Otuoke, in Bayelsa State, it was a former president's meeting talking about Olusegun Obasanjo and Goodluck Jonathan. Move over to Minna. Another former president held a meeting with PDP leaders. And then from Minna, you get to Daura in Katsina State, where the incumbent president also held several meetings over last weekend. He met with governors elected under the platform of the APC, and up to yesterday was meeting with elders from Katsina State. 3 meetings in the 3 hometowns of either former or serving president. Very interesting. Talking of meetings, of course, the reconciliatory committee the president set up, headed by Ahmed Bola Tinubu, has also continued his meetings. He has met with the Senate President, Bukola Saraki. He was in Sokoto, where he met with the incumbent governor and the former governor, and that meeting is continuing, prompting Sheikh Husani to say and come out with a verdict that the last hope for the APC is success of the Tinubu Reconciliation Committee. If it fails, it's doom for the party, he says. Probably the former governor of Lagos State will have to make a stopover in Kaduna State, where the factions of the APC, they are busy suspending each other, querying the governor, querying Sheikh Husani, querying associates of the governor, and issue them with suspensions. Of course, it is one area the former governor of Lagos State must make a stop in. Of course, the issue of Kanu is one you cannot shy away. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje told journalists over last weekend that 17 different attempts were made by different individuals to reconcile him with his former boss, Senator Musa Kwankwaso, and all failed. He said he tried all he could for the two to come together, but Kwankwaso's insistence of controlling the Kano State governor from outside is one he cannot put up with. Of course, my colleagues are here with me. Uju Ejeye is joining us as usual.
Hello, our listeners. Amici, certainly it's a political year, a lot of alignments, realignments, and shopping too, shopping for supporters, shopping for support, and all of that. It's to be expected, and I believe that we will even see more, even coalitions, mergers, and all.
Adeboye Aboduri is also with us in the studio.
Well, the weekend, is a political season, and the weekend was full of political activities. If you move from Port Harcourt to Adamawa to Kebbi, what we are witnessing is defection from PDP to APC, from APC to PDP, and from fillers from meetings Tinubu had with the aggrieved, let us call them the aggrieved members of the APC, was that it was literally begging them that
not to decamp
or leave another party. And also over the weekend, news came that the 4 policemen that were accused of killing Mohammed Yusuf were acquitted, and they have been reinstated by the police. And you all recall that on July 30, 2009, Mohammed was arrested by
as the leader of the
by the military, handed over to the police at a ceremony, and the following day was pronounced dead while in police custody. And that signaled the beginning of what we are witnessing today, the Boko Haram insurgency. Well, it's a good thing they were not found guilty, but I think there is still more to be done. Who killed Mohammed?
That's the question the security agencies would be giving us answers to. We promise you to take a look into the killings in Zamfara State, killings that have continued. We'll be speaking with Senator Kabiru Marafa, who is out of town, but we hope to link up with him over the phone. Just hold on as we take your mails.
It's the mail segment, and I am Ifeanyi Onwobi.
I am Chidima Enyi. You're welcome.
Let's start with this mail coming from Jolasu Sikiru, who writes from Abeokuta in Ogun State. It says, the recent happenings and discoveries emanating from the various state offices of JAMB deserves the praise of the registrar. His effort at curbing corruption arising from the sale of scratch cards for the exams, as was previously done, is highly commendable. This has led to the discovery of funds previously embezzled and also an increase in remittances to the federal government coffers.
And we now move over to INEC matters. Tekena Dagogo from Oyibo in Rivers State says, INEC last week released figures of newly registered voters, which gave us a new total registered voters. However, no clear detail was given of the number of voters deregistered, either due to death, transfer of polling units, or discovery of double registration, like we have with Kogi State Governor. Considering this current register commenced in 2010, if our official death rate figure is roughly 5,000 per day, that is 1.8 million per year between 2011 to 2017 is factored in, if the registration isn't done, our voters register might be bloated by some millions. The earlier INEC starts verifying voters, the better for all of us. God bless Nigeria.
Staying with that, Yolo Okpe Taiwo in Kubwa, Abuja says, I am using this platform to write to INEC on a better way to make the continuous voter registration exercise easier for Nigerians. Since we have been informed that their agents move from one location to another to carry out the exercise, I think, therefore, that it will be helpful and stress-free for Nigerians if they can create a website or social media platform with daily updates on the new center of registration and the addresses, rather than one getting to a known center and later discovering that they have moved to another location. Anyone set to carry out his or her registration should be able to know right from his or her house the present center of registration. I therefore call on INEC to make use of available technology, since the essence of technology is to reduce cost and stress on humanity, and a good number of Nigerians have access to the internet.
Again, Emmanuel Austin from Ado in Nasarawa State titles this one as a word for the military. He says, since its inception in 2015, the APC government has used one English grammar or the other in describing its victory claims over Boko Haram. It started with technical, then degraded to disseminated, and now totally defeated. One should not forget the number of times Shekau, one of the factional leaders of Boko Haram, must have been killed by the army. What baffles me is, whenever the government pronounces its claim over Boko Haram will strike, telling the government and any person who cares to listen that Boko Haram is still very much on ground. While the army should be commended for the victory so far recorded in this war, more efforts should be intensified in making sure that total victory is attained, since it is not yet Uhuru.
Talk about security issues and a reaction to an analysis on the platform. And Monday Ame in Abuja says, please permit me to react to a mail from Mr. Amechi Obochi on your program on Friday on the newly operational unmanned aerial vehicle, UAV, invented by the Nigerian Air Force, NAF, and launched by President Muhammadu Buhari. The intention of this mail is to set the record straight in order not to mislead your teeming audience. Firstly, it is true Goma unmanned aerial vehicle, UAV, is the NAF's first indigenous unmanned aerial vehicle launched by former President Goodluck Jonathan. However, the newly inducted Saigumi UAV, launched by President Muhammadu Buhari, is the first indigenous operational UAV. Both Goma and Saigumi are the outcomes of research and development efforts of a team of NAF aerospace engineers. I appeal to journalists to engage more on investigative journalism in order to avoid misleading members of the public. Comment is free, but facts are sacred. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
That's it on the mail segment today. We expect more from you tomorrow. Please keep it simple. Ait Political Platform at yahoo.com.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Let's take you straight to Zamfara. We have Senator Kabir Marafa representing one of the constituencies, the senatorial districts in that state. He has been quite vocal about the killings going on in Zamfara. Recall last Friday, we came up with news that another 40 was killed, and of course it is one that should evoke some sentiments in us. We have Senator Marafa on the line now. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So how do you see these continuous killings going on in your state? Is it not a cause for concern?
It is. If there is anything much more than that, I think it is. If there is anything much more than concern, the killings in Zamfara is much more than concern as far as I'm concerned.
Can you take it through how it all started? How did we get to this point that militiamen will be just having a free reign, killing people mercilessly?
Well, I think I have said everything on the floor of the Senate and at various forums where I had reasons to speak about these unfortunate incidences. It started since 2011 and it continued. In the beginning, we all thought that we were together and we were fighting this unfortunate things together with the government. But later development shows a kind of lack of concern and maybe even to some extent a conspiracy because the issues are not discussed anywhere. The government tries to, that is the state government, tries to sweep everything under the carpet and nobody is saying anything about it. The State House of Assembly is not discussing it. The pressmen are not taking it. People are being killed, kidnapped on daily basis, like I always say. And what is more worrisome is radicalization of our youth and the proliferation of arms in the state. And this is what I've always cried out, that if these issues were not or are not nipped in the bud, it is capable of putting the whole of Northwest into serious conflict, because when people carry arms that are not supposed to, and the innocent citizens are left, at the mercy of these people, life is sacred and it is human nature to always try to defend oneself. So it will reach a stage whereby people would begin to procure arms to protect themselves. And this is just what I have said. And up to this moment, nobody came out to say that what Senator Marafa said was a lie. The only thing you hear is some useless commentaries, some useless attacks from contractors and people seeking for public office and hungry politicians. But fact of the matter is people need to ask so many questions. I will give you an example. I think what happened in Zurmi last week exposes the whole thing. Now, the governor was in far away Daura with the commander-in-chief. Now, this things happened and he remained unperturbed as if he doesn't even know. In fact, the news around the media had it that when these things were happening, the governor didn't know. Now, when he went to Zurmi to condole the people that lost their lives, he had this to say, that he had security information that that is the attack was going to happen, and he had the information, according to him, 24 hours before the happening. Now, the question is this, or rather, let me continue there. He said he knew it 24 hours before it happened, and he alerted all the security agencies. But he continued to stay in Daura, according to him, attending to some national issues. Now, who are those security agencies that he alerted when he got the information? One. Two, did he tell the commander-in-chief, whom he accused in Zurmi? Because when you say it is the security agent's fault, then you are invariably accusing the federal government. So who did he inform in Zamfara? And what was he supposed to do? Was he elected a governor?
Senator Marafa, you spoke about conspiracy here. Conspiracy by some people within Zamfara for this news not to go out.
By the government.
These are citizens of Zamfara who are also concerned about these killings. How do you reconcile the fact that people want to downplay a catastrophe upon their people?
That's what I'm saying. There is a conspiracy by the government. The government of Zamfara State, because the governor says he is aware of this attack 24 hours before it happened. And yet this incident happened and these people were mercilessly killed. Now the question everybody is supposed to ask the governor is, now who did you tell? What did you do?
Well, I recall the governor said he informed security agencies, and you know full well that he does not have control over the security agencies.
When you have the privilege of sitting with the commander-in-chief, he was in Daura with the commander-in-chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari. Did he tell the president that this is what is going to happen in my state?
Well, distinguished senator,
I'm sure the president would have ordered him immediately to leave to Zamfara, and the president would have done all that is necessary, to avert that catastrophe.
Distinguished senator, now they have deployed military and policemen to the place. Only yesterday night, three people who are said to be principal suspects were arrested by the police. How do you see this development, or what do you think is the permanent solution?
Let us start from where it started. Now, must you wait until people are killed before you send in military men to act? He said he knew 24 hours before this incident happened. What did you do to avert the crisis? Assuming these people are your children, if these people were his children, would he have sat down in Daura, waiting for the catastrophe to happen? Would he have done so? Now, two, he just, after the incident happened, more than 24 hours after, he now drove in company of some of his colleagues to the Emir's palace, condoled them. From there, he dashed out to Katsina. From Katsina, he went back to Abuja. From Abuja, early in the morning, he boarded a flight and left Nigeria.
Senator Marafa.
This speaks volumes, of what I said. That the government has a hand in distance.
Distinguished Senator Marafa, know that the issue of proliferation of small arms is a very worrisome trend, particularly not just in Nigeria, but in the West African sub-region that demands quick attention. And I recall that in most of the international parliamentary fora, like the CPA and IPU, these have been strong issues. Now, as a parliament, as the National Assembly, what have you as legislators done to domesticate some of the resolutions reached at this international fora to help tackle this problem that is fast spreading?
Sister, let us stop all this English. All these things is just English, and that is what we are good in speaking in Nigeria. What is the role of National Assembly? The role of National Assembly, number one, is to make laws for the good governance of the people. Now, we have all the relevant laws in place. We have the counter-terrorism law. We have all the relevant laws, all the laws you needed, to fight this kind of issues are already there. What do you want the National Assembly to do? Now we have discussed this issue was brought on the floor of the Senate and even that of House of Representatives several times. Resolutions were passed and everything. But as long as people doesn't respect their own people, they abandon their primary responsibility just for them to accuse somebody. You see, I hate hypocrisy. And I thank God that I'm not one.
Very quickly, what do you think is the way out? What should we do as a country to stop these killings?
Well, it is for people to sit down and do their jobs honestly and realistically. Now, you cannot be elected as a governor. You abandon your primary responsibility, dash out, and engage yourself in what is, in fact, not even secondary responsibility. And you now claim that you have information. Now, what I expect a governor to do is this. Now, I do agree that the police, the army, and everybody are under the control of federal government. Yes. But now, as a state governor, you have the commissioner of police to a reasonable extent, more than 90%, answerable to you. You have...
we have to stop you here at this stage, distinguished senator. Thank you so much for speaking with us. Thank you. Of course, a lot of allegations against the state governor. We reach out to the government for their own input because it is a multi-stakeholder approach, and we must get to the root of this matter.
Yeah, we will get across to Zamfara state government and also seek their view on the issue and what they are doing to put a permanent solution.
I think that, like the question I asked him, if you go to most of those international parliamentary fora, this issue had been cropping up since the past 5-6 years. And the issues that worry even countries that where these things are not happening, because once they keep spreading, maybe from the West African sub-region, the African continent, it keeps going on, and they have often emphasized the need to deal with this issue. I think that our lawmakers, in as much as they may want to blame the chief security officers of the states or at the federal level, also have a role to play, because they oversight some of these, in fact, they oversight these security agencies, and they have a role to play, even if it's only to put pressure on them to act more, to be more proactive in tackling these issues and ensuring that these attacks, when they have the information, do not occur.
Okay, let's see what we can give you from the meetings that held in the hometowns of the incumbents and former presidents. We told you of the meeting in Daura. Senator Marafa made reference to it. The president met with some APC governors, and we believe from what we gathered, it's all about 2019. But the governor said they came to commiserate with the president on the death of two close relatives. In Mina, it was IBB meeting with the PDP executive and charging them with the responsibility of providing effective opposition. But it was Olusegun Obasanjo who went to that state Bayelsa to commission some projects, but had to visit Goodluck Jonathan in his home state. He was accosted by newsmen after, and he had this to say.
I want to just tell you what you miss. The food where Madam cook for us, na helele, and you miss them. We enjoy the food, and we thank Madam, and we thank Mr. President, and we thank the governor, will be the means by which we come here. And we thank you for covering this visit between two brothers.
The former president apparently still laughing. You recall the issue. Of course, we will hope that one day he will visit a former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, like you suggested before we came on air.
Yeah, I said, well, it's a good thing that there's a rapprochement between him and Jonathan. we hope he will also extend the same thing to Atiku Abubakar, his estranged godson.
Oh, well, I don't know. Honestly, if you ask me, I don't see that happening soon. But maybe Alhaji Atiku Abubakar should rather go to.
He has been there several times.
Let him keep going.
But the thing about Obasanjo's visit is that it may not always spell positive. Recall when he visited Audogbe as a PDP chairman and 8 pound a yam with full press coverage.
And what happened?
And also visited late and danced with him at the opening of his
the next day.
So his visits may not always be a sign of positive.
I also recall that birthday bash for later Chubo Kadigba, Senate president. He was there. In fact, he stayed for hours, ate, danced with the wife, and the man was impeached.
Okay, when we come back tomorrow, we focus. Time didn't allow us to take a look at the reconciliatory efforts by Ahmed Bola Tinubu and the situation in APC. We'll continue with that tomorrow. Thanks for being part of today's edition. My name is Ait Political Platform.